Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. So, guys, this is a review for Power. Okay, season 2, episode 4, getting these ends. And this was an okay episode. It was decent. It was parts I liked. It was parts I wasn't too crazy about. If y'all could help me out maybe and answer some of the things that I was a little confused on and leave it in the comments, that would be great. Okay. But we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So it starts out with Milgram, Professor Milgram, standing out in the woods, okay, with her car, and she's hearing branches on the trees cracking. She's hearing animals, and she's sitting there giving me scary movie vibes, talking about, Zeke, is that you? And I'm like, really? Y'all know damn well we would not be standing out in the woods by ourselves, okay? So then she texts him like, where are you? And you can see the little dots going like he's writing back. And when she gets in her car, he's saying that he's almost there, or so she thinks. In my mind, I'm like, Lord, Detective Stalker done followed her there and he gonna be coming. But no, the glass breaks and Monet gets up in the car and she's like, girl, didn't I tell you to stay away from my nephew and stop messing with him? She was like, did you kill this professor? You know, did he get jealous because he found out about you and Zeke being together? And she's like, no. She was like, me and Zeke was together that night, okay? Neither one of us had anything to do with Jabari's death. And, you know, I basically told the cops that, and then Jabari, thinking that he's protecting me, told him that he wasn't with me. So she was like, okay, well then I'm going to need you now to protect him, and you're going to have to find out who killed him. And she was like, how am I supposed to be, doing that? And of course, Monet is like, girl, I don't give a damn, figure it out. And so then we get Tariq coming to Davis and, Sack's office, or whatever the case may be. Well, really Davis' office, but Sachs just so happened to be in there with him. And they was looking up cars, and Davis is talking about this car he gonna buy that's like $250,000 or whatever. And in the meantime, when Tariq is walking in, he's getting a text from Kane that's basically saying, what's up, Silver Spoon, and make sure you on top of that Jabari situation. I mean, on top of the Zeke situation, or whatever the case may be. And so when he walks in the office, he's telling them, like, listen, they on Zeke, about this Jabari murder. He didn't do it, and I thought you was taking care of this for me. I need you to get on this. And he's like, listen, Monet says she didn't need no lawyer. She made it very clear that she didn't want nothing to do with us. And he was like, well, things have changed. And he was like, you didn't hear it from me, and don't ask me how I know, but we have a cop's gun that was found at the murder scene. And so Davis goes, oh, that could be a cover-up. And he's basically like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. So you need to use that and do whatever you could do and get Zeke out of this. And Sachs all of a sudden acting like he have such the high moral compass. It's just really killing me, because knowing all the foolishness he done did in the past. And he's over here talking about, well, how do you know that? And Davis is like, didn't he just say don't ask him about it, And then he's like asking him, why is this so important to you? And Tariq lets them know, like, I'm responsible for Zeke, okay? Part of the condition on me being able to stay in school was making sure that he get out and be able to go into the draft or graduate and pass his classes and everything. And if he doesn't, then it affects me too. So I can't have that happen. So, I need y'all to get on this. And of course, there's going to be a lot of money involved for you with this. And so then he walks out, and Sachs is saying to Davis, oh, you don't find it a little bit strange? You're not the least bit concerned that Tariq is involved in this some kind of way? He's always in the mix of something, and he's always the one that's bringing different cases. And for Davis, it's like, hey, I'm getting money. I don't care as long as I get paid. And he's telling Sachs that he needs to go ahead and hit up his little prosecutor friend that he be banging and find out more info. And he was like, well, sooner or later, she gonna know something up. I think her name is Jenny. I don't even remember right now. But, he was like, she's not stupid and she's gonna catch on sooner or later. And he was like, well, that's why you gotta make sure that you banging her good. So that way you could keep getting the info. Okay. Then we have Milgram showing up at the college, and cop stalker Kevin is standing outside, and she like, well, what you doing here? Like, you still running around stalking me? And he's saying that they asked to see him there. Your new boss asked me to come in for a meeting. And she's like, oh, well, that's funny. I'm going in for a meeting too. And when they walk in, you got Stern and Tate there as well. And she's confused, like, okay, what is Professor Tate doing here? And basically, I think the new Dean or whatever is something wrong. And he was like, you know, I want you here. You're not going to be in charge anymore, whatever the case may be. And Stern is the one that asked Tate to be there, you know. And Stern is like, he also asked to see the detective because the detective was like, well, then why am I here? And Stern lets him know, like, listen, you need to back off this whole Zeke thing. Like, he's never been in trouble. He's never had no issues unless you have some type of concrete proof that's proven that he did whatever to, that he killed Jabari. Then you need to back the heck off, because at this point, that just becomes harassment and you making it bad for the school, and we ain't gonna have that. And then Tate is saying, you know, what is it that you have? He was like, you know, if you could tell us anything of where this investigation is leading and why you think that he has something to do with it, then we could work with that. But if not, you know, you got to back off. He was like, he don't have no type of violent history. He's never been in trouble before. And what would be his motive? And Carrie lets them know, like, no, he doesn't have any proof, you know? And so he's basically like, oh, I do have a motive. And he was like, I'm not at liberty to discuss the case. And there's an ongoing investigation. And so Tate says to Milgram, do you have any thoughts on what his motive would be? You know, he being sarcastic because he done heard something already. And then Milgram says did want to discuss with the, you know, cop stalker Kevin, that when the GTG murder happened or whatever, that has something to do with drugs, and there was something said about drugs being sold on the campus. So if anything, this could also maybe be something that is, you know, affiliated with that. And you know, the gang deals narcotics. And so she was like, I saw in Jabari's notebook that there was a potential for a drug pipeline on the campus. And excuse me, the dean says he will authorize a drug sweep, you know, and an investigation into that part. And so he was like, well, if you do find anything worth my while, Detective Stalker is saying this, you know, let me know. And Stern tells him, if we don't find anything, then we need you to go away, you know. And of course, Detective Kevin tries to get cute and says, I don't take orders from you. And then Stern says, oh, Detective, everyone takes orders from me. So again, I'm not a Stern fan at all. But in this case, okay, you know, make yourself useful. And he lets him know that when he talks to the commissioner, when they have dinner tonight, or later this week, I think it was, he will be letting him know and speaking to him about it too. And we all know that, you know, if the commissioner told them that they got to back off and change whatever with the case, whether they like it or not, that's what's going to happen. And so then, you know, he says, it's always a pleasure to see you, Councilman Tate. And he go ahead about his business. And of course, Kevin is ticked the hell off now. And, you know, he goes to leave and just basically close the door on Milgram's face while she walking out behind him. And then you have Tate running behind her saying, listen, I just want you to know that I overheard your conversation about Zeke with the detective, which I was surprised that, you know, he even admitted that to her. And he was like, I know it was a relationship between you and Jabari Reynolds. And she was like, okay, well, let's say that's true. She basically was like, you know, Zeke is innocent because we were together in the night that Jabari was murdered. And she was like, you supposed to be the big, you know, big black crusader. Then you really shouldn't be just sitting back and letting the innocent man go to prison. And he was like, you know, I was wondering why Whitman was so focused on you. He was like, you had a history with him too, huh? And he basically laughing about that. And he's like, damn, you know. And he was like, ma, what a messy situation you in. And he was like, one brother in the ground and another brother in the hot seat, and Captain America right in the middle. So I thought that was funny. And he was like, you know, I hate to admit it, but this is a little bit, have me even more intrigued. So she was like, Rashad, this is not about me. This is about you. You know, if you help with a case like this could do a lot to get you where you trying to go to too. And be able to have you come out heroic. And she was like, things like that, you know, if you help to prove Zeke's innocence, could help win elections. And then she walks away, and of course, you know, he's sitting there smiling or whatever the case may be. So, you know, this actually may help him to, and may come to a benefit. So then you have Monet, now she's down with Davis being a lawyer. She asking how much, and he's like $1 million. She like, you think I'm stupid? He like, no. So she basically was like, he was like, you want full court press, you want media coverage, potential jurors. He was like, all these things cost money. And he was like, if you want the best and you want me to go at it, I need lots of it. So she goes to the safe to take the money out, and there's nothing there, okay? And I believe that Diana took that damn money, okay? And I don't understand how, number one, y'all keeping that type of money in a safe in the damn bar. And number two, y'all don't have no type of cameras or nothing there. But okay. So she was like, listen, stop the bullshit. She was like, I could get you your money. I promise you that, or whatever. Because he was like, something wrong, something missing. And he was like, okay, well, 3 days, you know what I'm saying, can't hurt for you to go ahead and get it up. So now she done got the contractor guy that was there for the windows there. And she's basically like, one of you guys had to have taken the money. Y'all was the ones that was in and out. And he's telling her, listen, I swear nobody done rip you off. You can see she done use some pliers to rip the damn man ear off. Got him on the floor with the gun to him. And he was like, I promise, let me go and I'll get you your money back. And she was like, well, if you ain't never have it, then how the hell you gonna be getting it back? And she was like, you got my money or not? He says no. And then Monet shoots his behind. And I'm like, damn, Diana, like, you done stole the money to basically give to Davis. I don't know how you not expecting your mother to find out about this, okay? And telling him not to tell your mother about it, and then basically put this man's life in jeopardy and made him get killed because you wanted to sit here and be stealing your mother money. I'm like, Lord, y'all all messy and trifling for real. And I'm just like, I don't get y'all. So then Monet goes to the house, and she's upset, of course, at this point. She's letting them know that she met up with Davis. She letting them know that he want this $1 million, and they got to figure out a way to come up with the $1 million. That's what we basically end up seeing with the whole preview that they kept showing. And, they like, well, what happened to the money that was there at the bar? And basically she's like, I don't know what happened to it. The money's gone. And I was asking the contractor guy, because he was the only one, that had him and his guys in and out of the place. And he's saying that he didn't take it. So right now we can't worry about that and, focus on where it's at. It's gone. We got to go ahead and do what we got to do and come up with it, And they like, how the heck we supposed to come up with that kind of money or whatever? And she was like, I'm going to need all of y'all, to get out there in these streets and do what y'all got to do. And so Zeke is telling her, like, Auntie, I don't want you to do all of this and, be in this situation because of me. It's not worth it. And she's saying it's worth it if it's going to get you out of this trouble and you can still go ahead and do what you need to do. And then she tells Drew to stay there with him, and he's mad like, oh, babysit, and don't let Zeke out the house. And Diana and Kane, she wants to come with her. Now, mind you, Diana is basically texting daggone Davis, talking about, oh, is the money transferred into the account yet from my father? So this chick is dead ass sitting there, knowing what happened to the money, seeing what they trying to do and how they trying to come up with it. And like I said again, I don't know how she expect that kind of money to disappear, and it's not going to be no back blow or no questions asked about it, and that's just going to be the end of that, and everything going to be okay. Where she's not even the least bit shaky. I mean, you ain't take a little bit of the money, you took all the money. I'm like, girl. And so, she's texting Davis, like, to go ahead and do that. And also for him not to, be telling her mother anything about this. And I just know that's going to come back to bite on her behind. And so her and Kane is supposed to go out, and they all supposed to be figuring out different ways to come up with this money. And Drew and Zeke is supposed to stay back at the house. Then, of course, we always have the classroom part, where they coming into the class, and they have Tate and Professor Milgram there, and he's all Nice to see you, and let's go ahead and get right into it. I was very impressed by your papers, and we was discussing whether or not the ends justify the means. And then, Milgram is saying she's surprised at some of the answers. And, they like, hey, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. And then Tate tells Tariq he was a little disappointed because he didn't answer the question at all. And Tariq is like, that's because the question was flawed, If what you're doing is right, then nobody should be worried about it. And then they like, yeah, but that wasn't the assignment. And then she was like, ethical lines could be crossed. And she was like, I actually was surprised at a lot of y'all because y'all was saying that y'all would do things, but that it didn't have to be something that benefits yourselves. And then here come Lauren. Oh, I don't like the thought of that, and I don't think it should be that way. And Tariq is saying, well, if you're trying to protect yourself, you do whatever you can to protect yourself, right? And then she gonna talk about, well, I don't know, I would have to be in that position, to be able to say that. And because he was like, wouldn't that justify the means if you in a life and death situation? So she talking about, I think I would have to be in that situation for me to really be able to tell. I'm like, girl, whatever. And if you consider yourself a good person, then you wouldn't do nothing bad. So of course Tariq is just looking or whatever. So then we have Sack's girlfriend walking up introducing Camille Tate, Tate's brother, Councilman Tate's brother, to cop stalker. And he's like, is it by chance Councilman Rashard Tate's brother? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, so it's just a coincidence then that I just got railroaded by him and Stern at a meeting where they were saying that I shouldn't do this and that with the case. And then Tate's brother, whatever, is like, yes, it is a coincidence. He was like, I don't got nothing to do with that. My brother do what he do, and I'm here to do my job. And then, of course, he trying to be, sarcastic, like, oh, okay, if you say so. And now all of a sudden, you're just so happen to be here to help out with the case. And so he was like, listen, put biases aside. Like, I want to find out about the real killer. I want to get to the bottom of this. And he was like, what makes you so sure that Zeke did this? What is the things that you're finding that connects him to the murder victim? And of course, he's talking about, oh, he's jealous. And, and then Tate's brother is saying, listen, but didn't you find an officer's gun that just so happens to be missing? Oh, yeah, I have a theory for that, too. Ramirez was probably paid to go and kill him. And, then he ran off or whatever after getting his money from them, from doing the hit, for them because he had his PBA card. And it's like all that stuff is still circumstantial. You still literally have nothing concrete that's proof of this. And you still don't have Ramirez's gun. So he's basically showing him, that all this stuff you saying is circumstantial. And he talking about, oh, Zeke don't have no concrete alibi. And then gonna say, how long have you been the detective? And he was like, don't you ever, question me. Like, he got in his behind. And listen, I'm loving when anybody getting Kevin behind because I'm over him. And I feel like Sack's girlfriend just standing there, looking. These is questions she should have been asking before anybody else even got brought on. Like, girl, this don't seem suspect to you. So I don't know. She got a little funny stuff with her too. And he was like, have you connected anything? Is there anything else you have? He was like, but you still have nothing. And he was like, you talking about, oh, Zeke's alibi didn't check out. So the only thing that Sack's girlfriend says is y'all two need to get along and work this out. And the most important thing is that we break this case, and isn't 2 eyes better than one. So of course he gonna tell him that they had just got the new information as far as drugs being sold on the school grounds, and for that he could go ahead and look into that because she was like, can't you use some help? So he's like, yeah, sure, there is something. If you want to go ahead and help out as far as that part is concerned, be my guest. So he's basically being an asshole to him. And I'm like, man, I just want them to get out of here. Like, I don't understand how it's not a conflict of interest for him to be working the case when he literally was there messing with Milgram in the past, and they have a past. Like, nobody's even bringing that part into it on top of all the other things. Then you have Kane saying that he needs to go ahead and get up out of here, that he got to do something for his family. And once he does it, he going to have to go. And he was like, Mecca's mad. He's like, oh, well, why you got to leave and what is so important? He was like, listen, when it comes to family, family is first. He was like, you see that guy that's playing on TV, Zeke, the basketball player, in the trouble he got into. He was like, we need to pay his fancy lawyer off. And then Mecca was like, your brother, and he like, oh no, not brother, cousin. I found that to be a little interesting because I get a little confused with a part later, y'all. Like I said, maybe y'all can help me out. And he's like, so I gotta do what I gotta do, and after I do it, I gotta get up out of here. And he was like, but he's family, so I still got to ride for him. So Mecca's like, okay, I could understand that. He was like, well, I have some situations that I need helped out with, and you could kill two birds with one stone. He was like, how about you go to this man that owes me money, that's trying to move into territory, and I don't like, people messing with my money. He got some fronts. I'm going to send you all the addresses. You go and get down to it. Whatever's over 50,000, you could keep for yourself and slide it to your cousin Zeke, okay? Also find that interesting that he's so willing to throw in this extra money. And so then he's like, okay, cool, I can handle that. And then you have Tyreek texting Lauren talking about where you at. And you have Yaz calling him basically again saying, I want to go home. I want to be with you. I want to be with mommies again. And, all of that kind of stuff. And he telling her to hang in there and be strong. He working on it. She got to be patient. It's going to be soon. And then she asking him if he could get some kind of rainbow thing for her. And he was like, yeah, I could do that. Don't worry about it. I'm on it. I got you. And that was pretty much that with that. So we have Braden coming in, and he sees Kane in the room. He don't find anything funny or strange about this. I mean, he all comfortable, laid back on the bed. Could have been going through their stuff, reading a book. He asking about Tariq. But really, we already know that he trying to, go through Braden with stuff. And of course, he's like, oh, I really needed him for something. I don't think that you could handle it. And Braden, of course, is super excited and down for anything and act like he want Kane approval so bad. And he just want to be down with stuff that he like, what is it? I could do it or whatever. And they go ahead and leave out. He's like, we got to go take care of something. Of course, he's talking about the thing that Mecca's sending him on. Then you have Sax and his girlfriend, and she going on and on and on venting about the case and how the detective was with Tate and how they trying to undermine stuff. And she was like throwing shade at Carrie Milgram, like, oh, she's messy. That's real messy. She's over here sleeping with a student and she have a big history and da da da. So Sax kind of calls her back out on it, like, well, you sitting here sleeping with me, and I'm basically working for the other side or whatever. So what does that say about us? So I thought that was interesting. I was like, yes, I'm glad somebody calling her out on that, because I ain't really like how she came on her face when it came to that part, to be quite honest. Okay, I thought it was like, slow down, sister. Okay, like, Carrie got her mess with her, but we ain't gonna have you talking about her. And so then, Sax tells her to go ahead and make this phone call or whatever. She was like, oh, you're not, stupid or whatever. And he looking in the file at, the picture of the gun. So then we get Lauren there at the police station, and I knew this was coming back to bite her on the ass. That pissed me off last week when we saw her roommate put the pills in her daggone drawer, talking about something, oh, she's acting all crazy over weed, she needs something stronger than that, and threw those pills in the drawer. I knew they wasn't showing that for nothing. So now when they did the check of all the dorms, they found it, and Lauren is like, listen, that's not mine. I don't know nothing about that. Like, I had nothing to do with that, and I'm also not gonna be a snitch saying, whoever else had it. And so this part was another part that was like, come on, y'all be just lazy with the writing, because, okay, you're not going to be a snitch. You're not going to say, who drugs this is, but you're going to be willing. Like, Professor Milgram comes and ends up talking to Tate and saying how she was in law enforcement too. She used to be a prosecutor, whatever. That's how she's knowing all these people. Because in the beginning, I used to be confused. Like, how the hell she know all these people and everybody connected to her? And she's saying that if she can get Lauren to talk and she could get her to wear some type of, wire that could expose whatever then, would he leave her alone? Her parents wouldn't have to know. She wouldn't have to be affected with school. She wouldn't get arrested, nothing. So you wasn't willing to tell who had the drugs, but all of a sudden you gonna be real comfortable with wearing a damn wire and possibly tracking down a murderer that if you come into contact with somebody that's doing murders, wouldn't they possibly murder you? But I'm like, okay, girl, all of a sudden you supposed to be more comfortable with that, and you let them talk you into that. And Tate have some kind of watch that I guess supposed to have a listening device, because she was asking Professor Milgram, like, what should I do? And I just felt like she gave her bad advice and was only kind of really thinking about herself at this point. And she was saying, maybe speak to some of your friends, find out what information you could find, where this the recording device. She was like, not only will it help as far as the whole drug situation go, but it will help with finding Jabari's murder. And don't you want to help him out? And don't you want to do what you could do for him? And I promise if you do this, they could drop any criminal investigation against you. It could just go away. Your parents would not be involved. Your record would stay spotless. So, of course, all of this sounds good to Lauren. And she's basically like, okay, that she'll do it. But I'm like, girl, that part didn't kind of make sense to me, if I'm being honest. Because if that's the case, first of all, they put you in danger by putting these in your daggone drawer. I'd have been like, oh, this was homegirl, my roommate. Okay, y'all better pull her behind in here, because how come Lauren was the only one that got pulled in? I'm just saying. Then we have Tariq sitting down with the executive and talking about getting his sister back, fighting this case, proving that his grandmother's a drunk. Tariq is over here saying how she's drunk 24/7. I don't know that I would agree with that. And even the guy says, Alvin from the Cosbys, he's been doing a lot of shows lately. He tells him like, no, I wouldn't say your grandmother's drunk 24/7. And I hate this storyline. I think I said it once before. I don't understand why we needed to make her drunk. Yes, she could be messy, and she used to say her little slick stuff in the original Power. But if anything, she was the one that's been holding Yaz down since she was a baby, okay? We wouldn't see Yaz for how many periods of time, because she was with her. And now Tariq want to talk about, oh, she belongs with me, and they got her where she supposed to be so messed up, and where Yaz don't want nothing to do with her. I don't like that part, but hey, that's the way they wrote it, okay? So there's nothing I can do about it, but I don't like it. And he's basically saying, listen, if you really want to take your grandmother to court, then to fight for custody or whatever the case may be, then we could go ahead and do it. And he was like, yeah, because if you don't, then you gonna be out of here. So he's like, so do I have your support or not? If not, I'll remove you as conservator. So then he's like, yeah, he gonna go ahead and do it. And he was like, you have my support. And then Tariq is like, thank you. And he gets up and leaves from him, but and tells him to enjoy his meal. But I don't like that they doing that. Then we get Braden and freaking Kane. And like I said, Braden is so thirsty. He don't care. Like, he just want to be down so bad. Kane is telling him to keep the car running. He's going in there to do this robbery. And some guy comes up to the car while Braden is sitting there and was like, who are you? Who did you come with? Who are you waiting for? Who do you know in there? And when he asking him who do he know in there, Braden talking about Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. That had me laughing. I ain't gonna lie. They had a few little parts in here that made me laugh, and that was one of them. And so, I'm about to be like, Kenzie, girl. He was like, those guys. And so the next thing you know, he's telling him to get out the car. And then Kane comes running out or whatever. First you hear something smash out the window. Kane comes running out. Kane ends up shooting the guy. Jumps in the car and tells Braden to go. Braden is just loving this. He laughing and screaming, acting like this is a funky good time. This is the best, hangout he ever had. And they basically shooting out the car. I'm like, Lord have mercy, this boy want to be down so bad. So then we have Tahita and Monet together. She just finished doing her conjugal visit with him. And he's like, okay, so what do you want to ask me? I could tell there's something on your mind. You got that. I want to ask you something face. And you got that. I want to ask you something else on too. And so she's like, listen, with this whole situation going on with Zeke, Davis McClain needs $1 million by tomorrow, and I want to know if I could basically put the get your signature to mortgage the house. And he's talking, she's like, well, get the money back as soon as the case with Zeke is cleared. And he's like, absolutely not. And she was like, if it was one of the kids, you would do it. And he was like, yeah, you're right. If it was one of the kids, I would do it. He was like, look, I love your nephew, Mo, but family comes first. And we took so long to rebuild after paying my defense, and now you want me to put the house up again? He was like, no. And she was like, please, I need you to do this for me. She was like, I hardly ever ask you for anything, but I'm asking you for this, Lorenzo, please. And I thought it was very, respectful of her, and totally different than me that she even came and asked. And he was like, sorry, no. And she was like, looked at him like he was trash and went to walk out. And he talking about some, Mo, look, why don't you just use the money in the bar? Like, if she had the money in the damn bar, she wouldn't be asking you about this. So that should tell you right there that there's something going on. And she's like, yeah, I'll do that. And so then she goes to leave from there, and we seeing Jamel Hill on the TV basically talking about the whole Zeke situation. Of course, Zeke is pissed, and Drew is saying this is some messed up stuff. In the mix of them talking, Drew is texting back and forth with the little boyfriend guy that he likes to break up to make up with. And he's saying, would you help out with Zeke? Are you willing to do something that could help him? And he was like, well, what do you have in mind? The next thing you know, Drew get over there and they getting busy. I'm like, okay, how is that helping Zeke? I'm confused. But when they finish, come to find out, Drew basically had them do like this protest thing, saying that they wouldn't play until they stop harassing Zeke or whatever the case may be. And also like a GoFundMe to raise up money. And at first they basically getting along and saying how, they regret arguing and how they do the makeup to break up thing or whatever have you. And then they get into a whole nother argument because the guy ends up saying how when the professors was doing those, interviews with them, helping up the cops to try to find out what happened to that GTG member, he had mentioned, what went down when they left the club and how Drew had ended up hitting the guy. He was like, oh, shoot. Lord have mercy. Wait a minute, y'all. Sorry, guys. I had technical difficulties for a minute. So he had mentioned to him that he said might have mentioned his name during that interview. And he's like, you're just telling me this now, when he gets pissed off all over again and starts wanting to say, you don't know me, you don't know my family. And then he's saying, Drew, let's talk about this. And he's like, no. And he's basically just ready to be out the damn door. So they done got into it again. That lasted like, 5 minutes or whatever. Then we got Lauren and I'm sorry, not Lauren. Lord have mercy. We got Effie and Nikki basically doing this quick scam with these cards and clothes or whatever the case may be to raise up money. And I thought it was cute, and Effie was definitely looking nice. It was a different spin on her being all dressed up and having the long hair down and all of that stuff. And she was telling her, look, I'm sorry, I'm saying all the wrong names. It's Effie and Diana, y'all. I'm sorry, I do be getting these names mixed up sometime. And she was like, well, you doing your thing and you smart. She was like, how come you not in school? You can do the same thing like how I do it or whatever. And Diana tells her, that's not for us. We can't do that. That's not what this family's about. And she's like, well, your cousin is going to school. And she was like, yeah, but there's different rules for Zeke. Okay, which I don't understand that either, but whatever. And, Effie is actually like, well, what about you? What about your parents? And she was like, listen, I do what I got to do to get by. She was like, my parents is a whole different story. Let's just say that they leave me alone and I leave them alone. And I think we all, have been kind of curious about Effie's parents. And she was like, I'm good on my own. She was like, but, when I met you with Tariq and I was telling you not to mess with him, it wasn't no jealousy stuff. Yeah, okay, Effie. But I just know that you're not ready for his type. And she was like, well, you don't have to worry about me messing with him. She was like, Monet always told me to use what I had to get ahead and to get men's attention. But I don't know, when it comes down to it and I'm really ready, for that first time, I wanted to be with the right person. So obviously Diana's a virgin. And then Effie's telling her, good, keep it that way. And she was like, I just mean that I want you to save yourself a lot of grief. Trust me. And, I thought that was a little funny and a little, hating a little bit under the belt. Like you trying to say it in a way that you concerned and you looking out for her. But, Is it really that? Really? I don't know. Maybe 50-50 with that one, okay? And so then we have this guy telling Zeke to please call him, that he's he's like, he's a big fan. He's basically some reporter that's outside the house and asking questions, because of course Drew was hard-headed and didn't listen and left from there. And so Zeke is saying, no, you don't understand, you ain't got it right, and which Zeke behind was supposed to stay in the house, so they both hard-headed. And then in the mix of it, when Drew walks up, Zeke is telling him, like, Drew, chill, don't worry about it or whatever. The guy says something about the father and how he did a murder, so do murders run in the family, and Zeke loses his shit and beats the mess out the guy and was like, keep my father's name out your mouth. And so she thanks Kane, or whatever the case may be, for bringing in money, and she's getting on Zeke and them and Drew. I told you not to leave the house, and your stupid ass leaves the house anyway. And he's like, listen, I'm the one that got them to forfeit the game. I'm the one that gets the gold fund going. I never get credit for nothing. F this, I'm out of here. And she basically telling him, calling after him, and he leaves, okay? And the thing with Drew, really, Monet is not realizing it with all her kids, to be honest. They all starting to kind of deter from her and separate from her. Diana's ready to get the father out and branch off because she worried about going to school. Drew is basically blaming her to a certain degree, still mad at her, feeling like it's her fault that he got shot. And at the end of the day, it's not her fault. There's a lot of other things that's her fault, but that's not one of them. Drew, your behind stood up. And I forgot to mention that in one of my past videos, like when they was shooting, you stood up, okay? And that's how you got shot. I literally was screaming, why the hell would you stand up when you did it? So she has nothing to do with that, but there are other things that you can be very mad at her when it comes to, okay? Then we have Davis coming. He trying to see what's going on with the money. He's like, oh, you must be Kane. You Diana, trying to act like it's his first time meeting her. And then he's like telling, Monet is asking him, is the situation fixed? He's saying yes and no. He was like, because you hit this person that works for Celebrity Sports World, the only way that he won't press charges is if he does this interview with Jamil Hill. And of course they all like, oh no, that's not a good idea, that ain't gonna work, and he's saying that he could do it. Then we have Tariq talking with Brayden, and he's saying, don't tell Lauren anything. And he's like, no, I won't. Everything will be fine. She don't know nothing about course correct. We keeping that separate. He was like, I ain't really stressing that shit, bro. I'm more so worried about this situation with my grandmother. He was like, I was able to bribe, supposedly the liquor store person to let him see the camera, and they got grandma buying 2 cases of wine and Yaz walking in the damn store. I'm like, really? Y'all doing the most, but okay. So he was like, he's doing anything he could do to get the custody of his sister right now. And it's admirable and everything that Tariq want to do that, but I just still don't see how him being this college student in the dorm, he's supposed to do this. And it's just kind of trifling to a certain degree too, the way you going about it with your grandmother. Then we got Brayden caught up in more of Kane mess, going to the store, showing a jewelry store, showing his black card, okay, to get in the store, like, oh, I'm about to spend this amount of money in there, whatever, please, it's not going to take me long, come in. And he's knowing all the different cuts of the jewelry and trying to pick it out and be like, oh yeah, this is what you get for a woman you care about, and she's gonna love this. And Kane comes in behind him, shoots out the damn camera. But in the meantime, Brayden, you didn't have no damn mask on. That already saw you. So I still don't get this damn plan. And, Kane is just picking up all the different jewelry. The guy was about to pull a gun, and Brayden was trying to shoot, but the gun jammed. So he just ended up hitting him and knocking him out. And he's like, yo, the gun jammed. And Kane is like, yeah, I put it that way. I'm not going to have you out here shooting up nobody. On one hand, that could have endangered his life. On the other hand, maybe that's smart, because then they would have had a damn body on them from the damn store. So then we get Professor Stalker still carrying on about Zeke and saying all that means is that he contracted this kill out, and that Detective Ramirez did it. And then, Tate is telling him, like, listen, you're reaching. You have no proof of this. You literally pulling stuff up out your behind and trying to make it work, okay? So then Davis is saying, what did you get me into? He was like, first this family can't play, then you got Diana blowing me up trying to do some side shit. You know, he was like, I don't need any more referrals for you. So at this point, he's starting to get, you know, a little leery too. And he was like, listen, money is money. As long as it's bringing you money, you're going to be down with it. And so they trying to prep Zeke for this interview. Tariq is saying, say exactly what I'm telling you to say, memorize it. You know, they thinking they already know the questions that she's going to be asking. And like, I mean, come on, this is TV though. So you know that they always some kind of way, you know, squeeze in other things. I don't think this is a shock to nobody. And at first things is going good for him. He's smiling. He looking charismatic. He got his little suit on. You know, they sticking to the questions and it's fine. Then they start sneaking into stuff and literally everything she's saying is stuff that only the damn cop could have leaked out. My thing is, why is he not in trouble for that? Basically, they start saying how we know you wasn't there because we got the video of you in the store. He's like, yeah, that's me. Then they bring up the whole thing of the fact that Ramirez had never been to any of his games. Zeke could have just been like, well, I don't know. That's what he told me. I'm not there checking who's playing games and who's not. I'm playing basketball. But, you know, he started stumbling just a little bit there. And he was like, you know, he do have an alibi for that night or whatever the case may be. Then they start going into, what was the next thing she said? Because, you know, they was going back and forth showing everybody reactions while they watching it. And Tate telling, you know, Professor Milgram, you could thank me later. And Zeke is telling them, like, I'm not a violent person. I don't own a gun. And so Jamil says that's interesting because we're finding out that Ramirez's gun was found on the scene. And he's like, oh, really? Well, I didn't know anything about that. That's my first time hearing about it. And so at this point, of course, Monet Davis and all of them is getting nervous because they like, this is not a part of what the program is supposed to be. And the fact that they found Ramirez's gun now makes her look at Kane and know he has something to do with it because she know Kane is the one that killed Ramirez, okay? So now that part is starting to fall apart. And Lauren is at the same time asking Tariq, what does that mean? And he like, hold up, and he trying to watch it. So, you know, Zeke is like, so this is a cover up, you know, for Jabari's murder? And she was like, yeah, well, that's what we trying to find out. And then she continues on like, oh, it's funny because we was told by a source that you gave, you know, Ramirez PBA card. And how would, you know, he know that? All this stuff had to be leaked out. It's like, y'all are trifling. And so first Zeke is trying to play it off like Detective Ramirez. And then when she says it again, he's like, oh, Detective Ramirez. Well, yeah, he did mention something about that. So you know, Monet is telling Davis to pull him, but Davis is like, I can't pull him. If I pull him now, then that's really going to make him look guilty. And so they was like, well, they're trying to insinuate that you basically played Ramirez to kill him. And at this point, Zeke is over it. I really can't blame him, to be honest. I was just like, oh, Lord, they really trying to set my man Zeke up. And he gets up like, man, this is bullcrap. This is bullcrap. I'm out. Y'all know this is bullcrap. Like, I'm done. And he just did a, you know, 1, 2, 3 step and got his behind up out of there, and I couldn't blame him for that. And then Tay gonna tell Professor Milgram, you know, there's nothing else I could do to help. Like, okay, you're trifling, but, and then Lauren talking about, well, maybe he did do it. What does this mean? And he was like, nah, he ain't do this, you know. And she was like, how do you know? And so Monet tells Diana to get, you know, him up out of there. And she turns around calling Kane name. And Kane already done snuck the hell out the damn door. And, you know, Davis is letting them know that they want Zeke to turn himself in the next day. And she was like, you just keep, you know, Monet tells Davis, you just keep working on it. So Kane thinking he's slick and thinking he about to drive off. Monet catches him outside and was like, nah, you meet me right now. I'm going to follow behind you. And she gets there in the park with him and she's like, well, what did you do? Oh, I had followed Tariq and I told you Tariq was on some funny stuff. I had actually caught him talking to the Jabari guy and I heard Drew's name, so I shot him, and she was like, you knew this whole time and you put us in jeopardy and you didn't say nothing. Like, again, you messed up and you knew Zeke was in trouble. And she slaps the mess out of him like, what the hell is wrong with you? And he gonna talk about, oh, well, I hope you got the same energy for Tariq, because he was in on it too, and he's the one that said that he was gonna be able to set up the whole thing, and he's the one that shot him, the second shot or whatever. I had did the first. And so she's like, yeah, well, that may be true, and I'm gonna, speak to him about that too. But now you done made this come up. Now you gonna have to take care of it and bring up Ramirez, so they'll know that the time frame don't fit and he didn't kill Jabari. So he talking about, well, Mom, what about me? What does that mean for me? She was like, hey, you made your bed, and Monet be killing me with that. She was like, listen, which I mean, to a certain degree he did. He never had any business killing Ramirez in the first place, and that's bullcrap what he even saying about Tariq and Jabari or whatever the case may be. So then we got Grandma, Big Mama coming through and cursing out Tariq and saying, you got a damn nerve, you want to come acting like you high and mighty and still custody from me with Yasmin or whatever the case may be. She was like, everything that happened to our family has been your fault. And she was like, where you think you packing up to go to now, whatever. And he talking about, listen, Grandma, I can't Yasmin stay with you. You need help. If you want, I'll pay for you to go into a rehab. And she basically was like, boy, if you don't get up off of me, she was like, Raina would be ashamed of you. She was like, evil has been befalling this family because of you. Now you think I'm gonna let you take my grandbaby and do her in the same way? She was like, I will die first. And she was like, I'll see you in court. And listen, Grandma ain't lied. Tariq caused a lot of mess, y'all. Okay, I said from the beginning, I didn't even watch this show. I literally binged season 1 right before season 2 started because of how badly I was pissed with freaking Tariq. Okay, so Grandma told no lies there. And then Mecca's calling Kane, and Kane is saying, listen, I gotta do something for my cousin real quick, and then I gotta leave town. And Mecca's telling him, well, what about if you could put whatever on the next person, somebody else, to take the fall for it just in case, how would that work? And he could you do something like that? So all of a sudden, of course, Kane is thinking. And so then we got Drew back at the damn guy's house, and him wanting to go in again about how he think he know this and that about the family. And then Drew's like, you don't know nothing, but listen, I'm gonna give you one shot where you can ask me anything you want. And he's like, did they kill this cop, or anybody have anything to do with what happened to the cop? He's like, no. He's like, what was the other question, y'all? I don't even remember. He asked him something else, and he was like, listen, I need you to never, ever bring up anything else about my family or whatever. Do you understand me? And he said, yeah, and then they kiss, and he's like, I got you, and, that lover's quarrel was over. So then we get Monet coming to, Mecca, and she like, what's really going on? She was like, I always knew it was funny. You popped up out of nowhere at this exact time. And he was like, okay, so now we could stop bull crapping each other and just be real, and she's like, yeah, why now? What the hell are you doing? Why did you come back into my life, Dante? She was like, at this exact moment, like, it can't be a coincidence. And then he was like, I told you I couldn't be the man you needed to be. She was like, come on, cut the shit, get to the point. And she was like, I know you paid Davis the $1 million. Why? And then he's like, well, I'm glad the fun and games is over. He was basically like, why? He was like, what am I supposed to tell she said, what am I supposed to tell my husband about my a man playing $1 million for my nephew? And he was like, I don't know, maybe tell him to protect our son. And I'm like, what? Like, listen, y'all. I already had a feeling that he was probably Kane's father. I'm like, the timeline matches up. But when he said it in this way, as far as why would you come and pay this $1 million and what am I supposed to tell my husband? And he was like, I don't know, tell him to protect our son. And then she's like, oh, I wanted to tell you, but I couldn't. I never got a chance, whatever have you. And he's like, I'm not even mad at you about that. It is what it is, but I'm here now. I'm willing to help you and your whole family, this, that, and the third. I don't know, y'all. They didn't make it clear enough for me. I need y'all to tell me in the comments, because previous to this, I was thinking that Kane is the son. But then when he was like, I don't know, tell him I'm here helping my damn son, and he done paid this $1 million for Zeke. I'm like, is Zeke the son? I'm confused. So is Zeke really their damn brother? And I mean, it wouldn't be impossible, but I definitely need them to break this story down and give us more info on it, because was it a situation where she was already pregnant, where she met Mecca and he knew that she had this child already that she was pregnant with, and then she had the other kids with Mecca? Or was it a situation, because let's not act like sometimes people got pregnant back in the days and their mama would raise the baby, or they would send the baby down south or send them in another country or whatever. The way they say it, Zeke doesn't know who his parents is, right? I guess some family member was raising him. Maybe that family member died at some point, and then he has been in her life with her raising him, saying that that's her nephew since high school. So it would not be impossible. But the thing with Power is they always leave gaps in these stories. It's like you got to be piecing stuff together and putting stuff together. It's like sometimes that part is a little annoying where they leave it open. So I don't know if they're going to go into it more in depth next week, or if, we're going to get some kind of flashback that's going to answer that question more precisely. But yeah, apparently they have a child together. And he's like, you don't have to explain, especially after the way I left things. But all of that is over with now. He was like, what I did for you today for our son, okay, that was nothing compared to the life that I want to give you and all the time that I lost. And he was like, you don't have to struggle no more. From now on, you could be that woman. And of course, she's like, listen, I am a woman. I'm already a woman. I'm the woman I want to be. And he was like, yeah, but you the woman you needed to be for Lorenzo. Okay. He made sure he was like talking his shit. I'm like, okay, Mecca. And he was like, but these are promises I intend to keep. You don't have to live like this no more, hustling for money and running all around. I want to take care of you and your kids, okay? And he was like, we need to fight for Zeke now. So let me do this by your side. And by him emphasizing on is about our son, let's save our son together, and we need to do this for Zeke now. That to me means it's Zeke. Okay, that don't mean no daggone Kane, because I done watched this episode over 3 times and paid very close attention to that part. All right. So anyway, y'all, that was the episode. We also had Brayden and Kane go and pick up Ramirez's body. Okay. Kane behind with his traveling behind after they did that and took him out, and the cops basically come and find the body, and cop stalkers feeling stupid that the body is out there because they know now that there's no way he could have been paid off and killed Jabari. When they get back to the damn dorm, Brayden is coughing and throwing up and whatever, sick, I guess from supposedly seeing the body and helping him move it with his dumb behind. And Kane slips the damn badge in Tariq's drawer. And I'm like, you just trifling, Kane, and you deserve everything you get. Like, at the end of the day, you promised Tariq this body was never going to come back up. You and Tariq made a pact. Yeah, I was supposed, like, child, I'm just over him. And it's like, I'm sure Tariq is going to end up finding that damn thing, I hope, before they do, in his damn drawer. And my whole thing, even with that, King, you was stupid. You was stupid for still holding on to the gun and using it to shoot Jabari. And you was stupid for still having his badge. You just was stupid, period, for killing him. Like, he gets the dummy of the damn season, episode, and everything from me at this point. I'm over it. And you also had Lauren sitting there, still having an attitude with Tariq, still questioning him, even though she knows that he have other things he's dealing with. Then she want to try to make up a little bit. They about to make out. He sees the watch on her, like, oh, you got a new watch? Your parents bought you a watch? She's like, oh, yeah. And she goes in the bathroom and she does take it off. I guess she get a little bit of points for that. So that way it wouldn't be recording them or whatever the case may be. But I don't know if he may end up going in the bathroom and saying something while he in there, and then it's going to record him that way. I just don't trust it, y'all. I don't know which way it's going to go. But y'all tell me what y'all thought about the episode. Tell me what you think your predictions is. What you think going to happen. Is Tariq going to see this damn badge before they end up coming in there and finding it? And it would be like, why would I hold on to a badge of somebody that I killed and have it on campus when I know y'all doing an investigation and y'all going around and checking everything? Is he gonna find out that Lauren is like literally working with them and got this damn recording stuff going on? And if he does, what could possibly happen to her? Is Monet about to find out that Diana stole that damn money? Is it about to be, one half of the family versus the other half of the family? Put it all in the comments and let me know. Let's discuss. And who do y'all think the son is? Because from what I heard and understood after watching that same scene 3 times, is Zeke. I don't know how it's Zeke, but it is. And some other people were saying it's Kane. So let me know in the comments which one you think it is. And we also did have Tate brother come in and say to Whitman before they found the body that he had found Jabari's notebook, and it was something important and interesting that he wanted him to see in there. And we was waiting on that. We kept saying, where's the notebook? Where's the laptop? Like, these cops are horrible, child. They don't be finding nothing they need to find when they need to find it, but they so busy accusing people of doing different things. So what y'all think gonna happen, y'all? Put it in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later. That's all I got. Till next time. Toodaloo.